Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday evening. My name is KJ Hamas, and I'm so excited to be here with you all on this Sunday for some fabulous yin yoga. If you're new to yin, welcome. Yin is a practice where we will hold shapes anywhere between 5 minutes and maybe longer or maybe less. And I'll always let you know how that is. And we're going to use our props to help us be able to get into the pose and really feel the stretch. So it's different from restorative yoga if you've ever done that, where in restorative yoga, props are used to really help completely hold you up and bolster you up. And yin, we just use them a little bit so we can find the appropriate level in the shape and really feel that fun stretch. So I'm really excited to be here with you all. A couple of things you might need: yoga blocks or block equivalents, a blanket and a pillow. You may not use them all, but it's better to have them and then, not need them. So with that said, go ahead and gather up all that. Create the best space that you would like this evening. So turn off lights, maybe light a candle, and definitely turn off the next 60 minutes. I will have mine on, but I promise I'm only using it for a timer. I do not check my email. I'm not checking any social media or anything like that. So here's my check, just so everybody knows I'm being honest. And with that said, we're going to get started on our backs this evening. So as you're ready to come onto your back, you may want to grab a block here. We're going to start to open up the chest, and you can use your block or block equivalent in a couple of ways. I'm going to recommend you put it on the lowest level, and then place it in between the shoulder blades. I'll turn around so you can see that. And then lay on that. Let your head sort of hang off the block. If your head hanging off the block is just too much, then feel free to use another block or a pillow to prop your head up. If you're using a book and you don't find that to be too comfortable, then maybe either use your pillow or even grab your blanket. And my blanket's already folded over twice. Do that. And then just kind of roll it up, almost as if you were rolling up an envelope a little bit, or a 3-fold Marie Kondo method if you're into that sort of thing. And then use that and place that in between your shoulder blades. So again, just something that's going to help prop you up a little bit in between the shoulder blades, and let the head hang off if that feels comfortable and safe for you. So as we start to enter into our practice, I'm going to ring the bell to draw us in. And we'll take a moment during that time to honor the yoga practitioners and teachers who've come before us, who have stemmed from this ancient tradition of liberation and freedom. So namaste and welcome. So as you start to draw your senses inward, begin to take a couple of deep, slow breaths in through the nose. And then exhale, open the mouth, sigh it out, let it go. Deep, slow breaths in through the nose. Exhale, open the mouth, sigh it out, let it go. One final time here, full breath in. And exhale, let it go. Orienting yourself in space and time. The space being here and the time being now. So for this next 60 minutes, letting go of the outside world, letting go of the outside forces, drawing our senses inward, fully arriving on our mats. And as you begin to arrive on your mat, take a moment to acknowledge that you are the authority in your body this evening, and that I'm just a guide. And so that this is your practice. You need to take what feels best to you, take what you need, and 100% leave what you don't. And we'll start to know that by just tuning into the body. All the way down to the deepest layers, without controlling anything, without changing anything, without judging anything. Begin to observe how you feel in this moment. Notice the body. Notice the areas that might seem stuck or closed off. Notice the areas that might seem a little bit more open and a bit more relaxed. Notice what you're bringing in with you to the practice this evening. As you take this observation, see if you can start to melt a little deeper into the mat. Finding yourself 5 to 10% more comfortable. Letting tension, stress, and resistance start to melt away. As you start to let all of that melt away, notice a deeper connection with the earth, as if you were growing roots all the way down to the very core. You feel stable and feel supported here. And then start to notice your breath in this shape. So with the block or the blanket underneath our shoulders, what do you notice about the breath and how it's moving? So we're taking this in the initial form to help us open up the front side of the body, open up the chest, even open up the throat a little bit. But do you feel open? It's okay. This is a process. So drawing back on what you're bringing in with you to the practice. Notice if what you're bringing in, if it's creating blockage or resistance. Notice if an emotion that you're bringing in is manifesting itself in a physical way. So is there tightness in the body that you're observing here that might stem from an emotion? Again, just an observation, not a judgment, not something that needs to be changed right now. Just a few more breaths here in this position. And as you're ready, very gently, just roll to the side off your block or your blanket and move it. And then come back on to your back. So notice the difference in the body after removing that support. And we're going to start to draw on our breath to create a deeper picture of how we're feeling, what we're bringing with us. Without changing the breath, without controlling it. And I know that's challenging sometimes as we come into our yoga practice and we're like, must control breath. Don't worry. Just see if you can find a little less resistance and control with the breath and notice it in its natural state. And again, that takes time, takes practice. But as we draw in our breath, begin to approach it with love and compassion. And start to name the breath. Inhale and exhales. And with our awareness on the breath, begin to notice what's happening in the body. How is the breath moving? Where does it start? Where does it end? What's happening with the mind? Is the mind wandering? Is it full of chatter? Or is it gravitating towards stillness? If you're carrying a lot of thoughts and chatter with you today, take a full breath in, gather up as many thoughts as you can. And very gently, just exhale those thoughts out, moving them off to the sides. Just trying to create a bit more space for the mind to soften. And continue to name the breath. Inhale and exhale. And as you establish your own breath pattern, become familiar with your breath, thoughts or emotions might begin to arrive. When that happens, take a brief moment to name what is happening. So name it thought, feeling, or emotion if you prefer. And then come back to the breath, naming of the breath. If the same thought keeps persisting, just keep naming it. Thought, 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 till it gently just fades away. Try not to engage with it. And taking this observation one step deeper, when you name thought or the emotion, notice where it's coming up in the body. What happens when you do that? If a thought of a mountain picnic comes up and you label it thought, you start to feel that manifest itself in the body. Maybe there's a deeper opening along the heart. Maybe a smile begins to form. Or maybe it goes the other way. Depending on what comes up, maybe it's a really rainy day and that makes you mad. Notice where that feeling is manifesting in the body. Again, we're not changing anything, judging anything, we're just observing. Coming in tune with what's happening in this moment. And then after each thought or emotion that you've named, come back to the breath and continue to name the breath. Always return to the breath. Take just a few more beats here. setting an intention or focus for your practice if you haven't done so already. Hold on to that gentle awareness of the breath. Continue to name the breath throughout the practice, and also observing what pops up as we get into each and every shape. So as you're ready on your next inhale, go ahead and roll over to the left side. I'm just going to roll over to my right so nobody has to stare at my behind. And pause here. Curl up in a ball and really, truly give yourself a big hug. Let the arms cross. Feel yourself wrapped up in that hug. Feel yourself love and compassion and joy. Maybe a smile starts to form across your face, because this is what you needed today. And then as you're feeling steady and stable, go ahead and start to make your way on up. So the first shape we're going to take is a toe squat. And we're taking the toe squat, one, because physically we don't always spend a lot of time strengthening our ankles, stretching out our feet. And that's really important. And if you've been running around today at the house, cleaning or, outside, whatever, the feet might get a little tired. And two, we're doing it because 6 energy channels start and stop in the feet, those primarily belonging to the lower body energy channels. So I'm going to turn to the side just to demonstrate, get our timer set for 1 full minute. And what you're going to do here, depending on how your knees are and what kind of floor, you may even place your blanket on a very low level to add some extra cushion. You'll curl the feet under, reach back, make sure your pinky toe is with everything. And then you're going to hang out. I know hanging out just makes it sound really, really super easy. It's not always. I will be very honest with you there. So find a soft point on the floor in front of you for your gaze, or even close the eyes. Try not to grip the hands on the thighs. Come back to naming the breath. We're just trying to move any stagnant energy that's residing in the feet around. And with always, you being the authority, you decide what you need. So if this is really painful and really challenging, that's okay. Come out of it for a second, lean across, and then come back into it. You've got 30 seconds left here. And this is a challenge, and that's where we tap into the breath, tap into that inner strength. But notice what's happening. First, just focus on the breath. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Very gently bring your hands down, lift up the toes. I like to smack them on the ground just to bring some blood back. From here, we're going to take the counter stretch of an ankle stretch. So back on your knees. Again, be very mindful and understanding that not everybody's ankles are going to go the same distance just based on range of motion. So bring your hands behind you. Again, feel free to use blocks or a pillow to prop yourself up and lift the knees up. You should be feeling a stretch along the front side of the ankle. Now you might be like, why don't my knees lift up that far? Well, again, it's different ranges of motion in the ankle joint. And not everybody's going to be able to lift up super far, but that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to get the benefits of the shape. So be here. And if you find that this just isn't for you for whatever reason, if there's an injury or anything like that, then just come back in to your knees or comfortable seat and name the breath. We've got 30 seconds left here. Take a deep breath in, and very slowly, wherever you're at, draw the knees down, come back up, shake it out, roll out the ankles too, roll out the feet, and then find just a comfortable seat before we do anything else. Try not to put too much pressure on your ankles and your feet. We just did a lot of that. And pause. Notice what's happening now in the body. Notice how you feel. And then from here, friends, we're going to stand on up. We're going to take dangling pose. So as we work to move the energy around in the body, after you take each pose, notice where you might be becoming unstuck. Or notice new areas that might have been popping up. So dangling pose, you're going to bring your feet hips width distance apart, roughly 2 fists width, and bend through the knees. If you're anything like me today, my hamstrings are real tight. So there's going to be a deep bend in my knees throughout, probably out the entirety of this shape. Blocks can be really beneficial here to draw the ground closer to you at whatever height feels good, okay? Where you're at, let the head hang nice and heavy. The back can round. We're going to hold this for 3 minutes. So in the first couple of seconds, take some slow, deep breaths in and deep breaths out to arrive fully in this shape. And as you do that, come back to naming the breath. So, like I mentioned earlier in our toe squat, 6 energy channels start and stop in the feet, primarily those affecting the lower body. So we're taking the time to open up the back side of the legs as we also get into the back of the upper body, the back of the core, which surprisingly happens to be our back. I've said that like 5 times back, but you get the idea. Let the head hang nice and heavy, so we're starting to loosen up those ligaments along the spine. And depending on what's happening in life, physically, mentally, and emotionally, you might notice tension and things really being held in the spine as you're trying to regain your footing and recenter yourself. So this is a great opportunity to see if you can release some of that resistance, release some of that tension. And let the shoulders fall toward the ears. You don't want to hug them toward the ears, but let them naturally do what they're wanting to do. And breathe here. We're about halfway through. With the concentration on the breath, you might have noticed things start to loosen up. You might have noticed the energy flowing in different ways. So if the body invites you deeper, please feel free to go there, but take it in stages. We never want to force ourselves to go any deeper than what is needed. Farther is not always better. Work with where we're at. Self-care is about meeting ourselves where we're at in that moment without judgment. About 30 seconds left here. Continue to name the breath. And hopefully throughout you've noticed things that are coming up, emotions, thoughts, and you've just taken the time to place a little name on those and continue back to the breath. If you haven't, that's okay. Just continue to find that focus. Our breath is our grounding force. As we ground through the feet and the hands physically, the breath is what grounds us on a different level. Let's take a deep breath in and a deep, slow breath out. Very, very slowly begin to roll up one vertebra at a time. My head's going to get cut off for a second, so please forgive me. No, I'm still here. Take your time. There's no rush, because if you come up too fast, you'll get a head rush, and then you might end up on the ground in a different fashion, and that's not what we're going for here. As you find your way up nice and tall, take your time. Slowly come back down to the mat, onto your belly or onto your back for puddle pose. If you're new to this practice, sometimes puddle pose is taken after every shape or just after a few or not at all as an opportunity for us to reintegrate any energy that was released in the body and start to feel the full effects of the shape. It might be during this time that you notice more of what's coming up mentally and emotionally. And try not to avoid it. It's okay to go through it. Take one more full breath here. Full breath out. Roll over onto your left side. Pause for a moment. Find that place of a hug. And begin, as you feel steady and stable, to move yourself on up to your comfortable seat. So we're going to come into straddle pose next to help us open up the inside of the legs before we come into the front side of the legs. So from your seat, bring your legs out as wide as they want to go. It does not have to be super far. It can be a little closer together, but you do almost want to create a V shape or a little wider V, just depending on what feels good. Sit up nice and tall, depending on what the hips are doing. If you find they're naturally tilting you back, sit up on your blanket. I don't recommend necessarily sitting up on a block for this, but you know better than your body better than anybody, so the block would be helpful. This is where a pillow can come in handy, or a yoga bolster if you've got it, and you place it in front of you. As we sit up nice and tall, we want to hinge from the hips. Try and release any gripping in the feet and in the legs, so we don't need to naturally flex, and then just start to walk yourself forward. From there, just let things kind of hang heavy. You're going to feel a stretch on the inside of the leg. So as we worked on the energy channels on the back side of the legs, we want to work on the inside of the legs to really open that up, keep the energy flowing. If I'm starting our timer in about 5 seconds, but a couple of things. If you're feeling a lot of pain in the knee, consider engaging through the quads or a slight bend in the knee. You can always place blocks underneath the knees as well to help you keep that bend. From here, just release down. Let the feet kind of fall where they will. A little pulling on the inside of the knee, the meniscus is fine, but avoid pain. So if it's really painful, again, take one of those other variations where you're squeezing through the quads or bending the knees slightly. And we've got 3 minutes here. We'll come back to naming the breath. You can bring one cheek to any props that you're using, and I'll give you a halfway point so you can switch it. So as you name the breath, stay in tune what's happening internally. Again, thoughts or emotions start to come up, begin to name them. Thought or emotion. Notice where they're happening in the body. If the same thought or emotion keeps coming up, that might be something for you to explore now if you feel comfortable and safe and it's not going to take you too far out of the practice, or it might be something you explore a little bit later. About halfway there, feel free to switch the cheek. About 30 seconds left here. Now let's take a deep, slow breath in and a deep, slow breath out. Begin to use your hands to walk yourself back up. Everybody props off to the side. Find your puddle pose on your back or on your belly. Or maybe seated. Maybe that feels better for you. And notice what comes up. For me, what really came up was something physical and how tight my hip flexors feel. But emotionally, I was feeling a bit more calm, so that's interesting because normally in that shape, a lot of other things come up. But that's my experience, and that's not to say that's the right experience. It's just an example. So as you're here, take a moment to draw in your experience in that shape. And as you're ready, roll onto your left side. Find that deep, big hug. And then slowly come on up. So the next shape we're going to take is a deer pose. And this is one where props can come in very handy as we want to support ourselves there. Our hip flexors on the front side of the body can be really tight, especially if we're sitting a lot, which we might be doing now and sitting in weird places to work if you're at home. So couches, dining room tables, chairs, you name it. So if you've got yoga blocks or yoga block equivalents, I'm going to recommend by creating one block for the head and one block in between the shoulder blades. You can also feel free to prop up the blanket and your pillow or your bolster to kind of create the same effect. From here, I'm going to demonstrate it to the side. You're going to bring your left foot behind you. Top of the foot can be on the mat or it can be out to the side, depending on your hip rotation. And then your right foot's going to come inside. So almost like a funky seated tree pose. Now this is a bus stop shape. Okay, so you're going to take the shape where you want to take it, where it feels best in your bodies. We're going to open up this left hip flexion, this left quad. So you can stay right here if you're like, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm going to just stay at the bus stop. Cool. Or you can start to make your way back. You can make your way back for the blocks in between the shoulder blades and adjusting the one for the head. You can even draw the blocks to different levels as too. So maybe coming down to the medium level or to the lowest level. Other options, if that's too much, you can use your blocks here for your hands. You can bring your forearms to blocks, or you can come all the way down to the ground, back on the ground. If you come all the way out to the ground, you might be feeling a bit more compression in the sacral lumbar joint, so where the lumbar and the sacrum meet that joint. Be very mindful and careful of that. So again, feeling that stretch on the left side, using what feels good for you there. And we're going to be here for 4 minutes. I'm starting the timer now. So with this shape, a lot of things might come up. You might actually find as you take those couple of breaths to invite yourself in and become present in the moment that that's not actually working. And if that is the case, I invite you to notice where your tongue is at. So your sympathetic nervous system might be in effect as this shape can be challenging. So we're going to work through it with the breath. Again, not going to pain, working with the discomfort. So if you notice where your tongue is at, it's attached to the roof of the mouth, drop it to the bottom of the mouth. Let the tongue rest in the saliva pool that will form for about 10 to 15 seconds. So I got a lot of hair in my mouth, sorry. And then notice what happens there, okay? When you're feeling ready, Start to name your breath. Same thing as we've done in every shape. Name the breath. Name any thoughts or emotions that come up. And right now we're just sticking with very general names. Inhale, exhale, thought, emotion. However, if you've undertaken this practice a lot, you're more familiar with it. If you choose to start to name your emotions as sad, happy, joyful, or anything like that, please feel free to do so. But if you're new to this form of tuning into the body, I recommend just staying with the very simple names. And I'm going to be quiet for most of this and let you just be. About 30 seconds left here. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Keeping the legs where they're at, let's slowly start to make our way back up. We're going to take deer in another way to help us get into the outside of the hip. So from here, you can fold forward. Feel free to use a block or anything to rest your head on, rest your forearms on, or you can take a twist in the body. So bringing everything over the right leg. We're going to be here for 4 minutes. Actually, we're going to be here for 3 minutes, excuse me. Again, it's really up to you. One option is not better than the other. You may not feel a super intense sensation whether you fold forward or take the twist, and that's okay. Things are happening in the body. We can be gentle with ourselves. 30 seconds left here. And take a deep, slow breath in and a deep, slow breath out. Gently just begin to find your way back up. Release the legs and just pause for a moment upright. Legs can be long, legs can be bent. And just notice how you feel. Continue to tap in a little bit deeper. Notice what's come up. Notice if there's any counter movements that you need to take just to find that final bit of release. And if you've got a counter movement, you're like, oh, I need to do this, feel free to take that. But let the energy settle first before you do that. Give yourself a real chance to notice. And then as you're ready, you close the eyes, gently blink them open. We're going to move to the other side with our deer pose. This time our right leg's going to come behind us. Left foot's going to come to the inner thigh. Again, your ankle can be all the way on the top or it can be out to the side. It just depends on the rotation and range of motion you have in your hip. One is not better than the other. You just want to, again, feel good in the body. Use your blocks like we set them up last time, one for the head, one in between the shoulder blades, your blanket, or your pillow. We'll be here for 4 minutes. You might notice the side is different than the other side, okay? So, again, you might take something totally different. This time you might be able to go all the way back. This time you're like, I can't even get onto my hands. That's okay. I always tend to laugh at myself a little bit when those things come up, and I'm like, oh, cool. Cool. How much of that is a product of age or other things? So, fun discoveries. It's always good to laugh at yourself a little bit too. Find a little joy. And then, again, 4 minutes here. If you're feeling any pain at all in the knee, please get out of it. You can take the same shape on the belly, just bending at the knee, reaching for the foot with your hand. Maybe you turn your blanket into a strap. Or you could even consider using your blanket and placing it underneath the knee. Other option is just to come out of it a little bit, rest into it, and maybe that's just where you stay. So you're at more of a 40, 50, or 60% than a full 70. About 30 seconds left here. And take a deep, slow breath in and a deep, slow breath out. Gently begin to lift your way up. Keep your legs where they're at. We're going to take deer the second way, so feel free to fold forward or take the twist if you took the twist on the other side. 3 minutes here. About 30 seconds left here. Take a deep, slow breath in and a deep, slow breath out. And to just make your way on up. Bring your legs out nice and long as you're ready. Just pause for a moment. And you notice how you feel. What's coming over the body right now is coming over the mind and the emotions. And then we're going to take one final shape to really get into the energy channels that start and stop in the fingers. So we've done some things with the upper body with the twist, with the first shape we took with the block underneath us, the forward fold, the opening in our deer pose. But we're going to work into the fingers just as we did the toes. So we're going to take broken wing. And you're going to bring your hands behind you. Palms are going to be on your back. And then you're going to lie on your back, palms face down. So back of the hands on the back, palms will be on the ground. So the lower down, the bit more restorative it's going to be, but do try and put a little bit of pressure or heaviness on the hands. The higher up, the more you're going to likely feel this in the shoulder joints. So it's up to you. This is helping us open across the front side of the body, the heart meridian, the chest, and the gentle opening of the shoulders. And again, also just applying a little bit of pressure to the energy channels that start and stop in the heart. If you'd like, you can let the chin tuck if it does so naturally, or you can open the throat a little bit. Don't want it to be in full extension. So find that place and breathe here. Continue to name the breath. Notice what's coming up. About 30 seconds left here. So I'll take a deep, slow breath in and out. And gently release your hands and come into Savasana, final resting pose. Take a full breath in and out to invite yourself into this moment. Let go of focus, let go of control. Just start to be. Begin to feel the weight of your body on the mat. And start to invite some gentle movement back into the body by wiggling fingers and toes. Taking your time, start to make your way to a comfortable seat at the top of the mat. Pausing for a moment. Noticing how you feel and checking in with the breath. And drawing your hands to your heart space. Honor the intention or focus you may have set at the beginning of your practice. And bow your heads in a moment of gratitude, thanking yourself for making time for your mat. And then sending gratitude to those who joined us tonight to create this virtual space, sharing this practice. As we lift our thumbs to the space between the eyes, the third eye center, the seat of the intuition, know everything you need is already inside. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Thank you all so very much for joining me this evening. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Sunday, and I look forward to practicing with you again this week. Bye. Bye, everybody.